Hello, my dear class 6 students. This is your science teacher and welcome back. So today we'll start a very interesting chapter. That is chapter 4, sorting materials into groups. Okay. So this chapter is all about all the objects around you. Clear? Right now you may be sitting in a chair and watching this, right? So this chair is an object, and this chair can be made of different materials. Like you can have a plastic chair, a wooden chair, or you can have a metal chair, right? So let's see, you have to know the difference between objects and material, okay? Object and material, okay? Object and materials. Clear? So now, just now I took example of a chair, right? So chair becomes an object, okay? And then materials that can be used in making a chair would be either wood, or either it can be a plastic, or either we have a metal chair, and it goes on, right? Okay, so this first, as we start this chapter, I want you to know a difference between object and materials, because we are surrounded with many objects, with many materials, right? So I've tried the first one. I want you to try at least 2 examples, okay? You can give anything. You can give about your pen, okay? We have a plastic pen as well, or we have a metal pen as well, right? So you can give many examples, okay? So I want you to try at least two examples. Clear? So the first example I have given over here. Clear? Okay. Now the second thing is one object, okay? A single object can be made up of different material. Clear? For this, let's take example of your shoe, okay? Let's take a canvas, okay? A shoe. A shoe, we have a leather shoe as well, right? Then that becomes a different material, right? A leather shoe. Or we can have a rubber shoe, right? A rubber shoe. Or we can have a canvas, right? So one object we're having different materials. Clear? So you have to know, this is very important. One object, we have a different materials, okay? And now let's take a material. Let's take glass, okay? Glass becomes a material, right? Okay, glass becomes a material. And with one materials, we can have different object. Clear? Let's say glass is a material, but through glass, what we can get? So we have glass is used in many things, such as window glasses. In cars it is used. Maybe glass can be used as a tumblers, right? And there are many uses of glass. Clear? Like even in your cell phone you can see the glass, right? So this is a difference between an object and a material. Clear? And with just one object, there are different materials. Different materials can make one object, and just with one material we can make different object. Clear? So you have to know difference between object and materials. Clear? Now we'll study the next topic, that is properties of materials. Clear? Properties of materials, and this is very important. We'll study 5 points under properties of materials. Okay. Students, this is our next topic. This is properties of materials. And in this, the first property would be appearance. Okay? Appearance. Materials, we can just judge by looking, right? So you can differentiate between plastic, and glass, or a metal, or a wood. Just by looking, we can differentiate. Clear? So, so this appearance plays a very important role in the properties of materials. But let's say about metals. Okay, metals, they have this property called luster. Luster means they are shiny. Okay, shiny. We will see like metals. They are shiny because that property is known as luster. Clear? And now non-luster, or if I say non-lustrous, means let's say this chalk. This chalk does not have any shiny surface, right? Or is it shiny in any ways? No. Then this chalk is non-lustrous, okay? So I think you are clear with these two terms, luster and then non-luster, right? Or lustrous or non-lustrous, clear? Okay, so by appearance, we can judge what type of material it is. But another example I want to give you is maybe I'm sure you are familiar with the Olympic game, right? Or in a school sports, you have like first place, the second place, and third place. Okay, the prize that we give with the winners we have in 3 categories: first category, second category, and third category. The first category is given like a golden medal, right? The second, a silver medal. The third, a bronze medal, right? So we see 3 different metals, but the appearance is different, right? Gold, silver, bronze, all are metal, but the appearance is different, right? So though their properties can be same, they may fall under metal, and metal means having those are luster, but again under the same property also there are difference. Because the appearance here, which we're talking about, is different, right? Gold, silver, and bronze, I'm sure you'll be able to differentiate. So this appearance is very important. Clear? Okay, now the second thing that we'll discuss under the property of material will be hardness. Hardness, okay? Hardness. So materials which we can compress, okay? Materials which we can compress easily, or materials which we cannot compress, okay? 2 difference, materials which we can compress or materials which we cannot compress, okay? Metals, can you compress? No, right? But plastic can be molten and then it can be made like of different shape and sizes, right? Like those clay and all, those can be compressed, right? So this hardness, one very important thing in hardness is just by touching, okay? Just when you touch, you can know whether it is hard or it is soft, okay? So this hardness, how can we know, how can we judge the hardness of a material? Just by touching, okay? Just by touching. If you touch a stone, okay? If you touch a stone or if you touch a marble, will you feel a difference? These are also 2 materials, right? Now a rock will be different, it will be rough. But if you touch a marble, it will be smooth, right? So just by touching, we can know whether a material is hard or soft. Clear? Okay, so we are done with the first 2 properties of materials. Next, let's go to the third property. Clear? The third properties of materials, okay? These materials. Now, you know the difference between object and materials. Clear? So we are discussing about the properties of materials, okay, students? So the third property of materials would be solubility and insolubility. Insoluble. So what is soluble and what is insoluble? Okay, so any materials which can be dissolved in water will be a soluble material. Okay, will be a soluble material. Clear? Any material which can be dissolved in water will fall under this soluble material. Like sugar and water. Sugar, if you put in the water, it is well dissolved now. Clear? Salt, if you put in the water, then we can dissolve that one. Clear? So this will come under this soluble material. Even, okay, we can take example of alcohols, okay? Alcohol, the beverage alcohols will come under a soluble material. All alcohol will not fall under a beverage, okay? Some alcohol it's not meant for beverage, will be used for different purposes. And the alcohol which is used for beverages are ethanol. Clear? So in this way, alcohol you cannot make it out. Clear? So it will also come under this soluble material. Clear? So now I have given salt in the water, sugar in the water, even I have given example for alcohol, okay? Those are soluble in water, right? Now the under this soluble material, one important thing I want to let you know is even gases. Some gases are soluble in water. Okay, I'm talking about this one, gas. Okay, some gases are soluble in water. Example, I'll give you a cold drink, a soft drink. Okay, a soft drink, once you open, what's the feeling? What do you observe? Clear? So why? You observe something. If you just open a normal mineral water, and if you just opened a soft drink, will you see the difference? Right? So the difference in a soft drink is that they have carbon dioxide gas. They have carbon dioxide gas which is dissolved in that drink. Clear? That's why you see that hissing sound. Clear? Okay, now even in for aquatic animals, how they survive inside the water. I have discussed regarding the aquatic habitat in our last chapter, right? So now inside the water, okay, inside the water also there are carbon dioxide and oxygen are dissolved in water. Clear? Even inside the water there are gases dissolved. And those gases would be carbon dioxide and oxygen. Those are dissolved in water. Clear? But not all gases are soluble in water. Clear? Not all gases are soluble in water, like helium, nitrogen and all are not soluble in water. Clear? So you have to know that some gases are also soluble. Clear? Because they dissolve in water. Example, I've given a soft drink, even for in water, for aquatic animals, they need that, right? So carbon dioxide and oxygen gas are dissolved in water. That means they are soluble. Clear? But which gases are not soluble, cannot dissolve in water? Nitrogen. Clear? Helium, those cannot be dissolved in water. Clear? Okay, now we are done with the soluble material. I'm sure you're clear with this soluble material. Clear? Now next would be insoluble material. Insoluble material. Insoluble material. Insoluble material means they are not water friendly. Clear? They cannot be dissolved in water. You can differentiate the layer. If we put like, okay, when salt and water, that's soluble, right? You cannot differentiate between water and a salt. There's just, you'll just see everything is same. You cannot differentiate which one is salt, which one is water. But now we are going to talk about insoluble material. Here, in this case, we'll use oil. Okay, we can use coconut oil, kerosene oil, or a normal mustard oil. Anything, if you put in a water, then it will not be soluble. Okay, it will not be soluble. So now see, this is white in color and this is blue in color. So we can now, since it is not soluble, you can differentiate between the layers, right? Because since the oil is not dissolving, it will be stuck in the upper part. So now you will have a layers which you can differentiate, right? So this kind would be this is an example of insoluble material. Okay, an oil dissolving in water. Clear? An oil dissolving in water. What are the kind of oil? A mustard oil, a coconut oil, a kerosene oil, and etc. Okay, but those are the common one. So now I'm sure you are familiar with this soluble and insoluble material. Clear? So those material which can be dissolved in water are called soluble material, or we can say they are miscible. Okay, miscible. And then insoluble material, just now I've given where we can differentiate between the layers, right? Those will say they are immiscible. Okay, miscible, immiscible. Clear? Okay, when I'm repeating, that means that is important. Clear? That's why I'm repeating. So now I'm sure you are clear with these two examples. Okay, so we are done with a very important three properties of materials. Clear? I'm sure you have noted down all the important points regarding the appearance, regarding the hardness, regarding the solubility and insolubility. Clear? So now, next thing we are going to talk about the four properties of material. Okay, four property of material. Okay, students, we're done with the first three properties. This is our fourth properties. Okay, that will be floating or sinking. Okay, floating or sinking, and it is related with water. It is to do with water. Okay, now floating. Okay, floating means if you throw a light object, light material in the water, it will float, right? You have, I'm sure, like with a piece of paper, you made like paper boat, and then you just throw. If you put in water, if you just put in water, then it will float, right? Instead of sinking, right? So if you put a light object, light materials, if you put a light material in water, then it will flow. But if you just throw a stone in the water, what will happen? It will sink, right? If you put a metal, if you just put some metal in the water, it will sink. So this is one important properties of materials, and I'm sure this is very easy and relatable, right? Floating and sinking. The lighter material will float and the heavy material will sink. Clear? Now the last property, okay, this is the last property of materials, and that will be transparency, okay, transparency, and this is very important. Clear? Transparency, because those materials which allow light to pass through them. Now take an example. Now you may be inside a room, right, and watching this telecast. So walls will not allow the light to pass through them. Clear? But the windows will allow the light to pass through, right? Light to pass. So now in this case, we'll say that they are transparent. Okay, or a transparent material is one which you are able to see the object. Clear? So water is transparent, glass is a transparent, right? This air is a transparent. Clear? Now in a shop, okay, in shops, if you are going to buy something, the containers are transparent, because if it is not transparent, you'll not be able to see the object inside, right? Clear? So the containers are transparent. Okay, now in this transparency, the second property I want you to note down is opaque material. Okay, under this, I want you to note down this opaque material. And since this is important, I'm writing in bold letter. So these opaque materials are those materials which does not allow light to pass through them. So in the first, I've given an example regarding the walls and the window, right? So a glass window, okay? So a glass window is transparent. So now a wall will be an example of opaque, because they don't allow light to pass through them, right? Through it. Now let's say window, let's say wood. Wood also doesn't allow light to pass through it. Clear? Wood also. Stone. Clear? Those are materials which does not allow light to pass through them. Now we are done with transparent and opaque. Transparent and opaque materials are completely different. One does not allow light to pass through them. One is visible, one is objects are not visible. Now what is the third materials regarding this transparency? Now the third one we have is translucent, okay? Partially visible. This is a material where it's partially visible, or we'll put it in this way, where it is not like it is in between, okay? It is in between transparent and opaque material, where partial amount of light is passed through. We can take example here, an oily paper, okay? An oily paper or a wax paper. Clear? So oily paper can be an example here. Oily paper. So this is example, okay? Under transparency, we have transparent materials, under opaque materials, and translucent material. So these three are very important. You have to remember that. Opaque, translucent, transparent. You have to note down. So my dear class 6 students, we are done with all 5 properties of materials. Okay? So this is very important. Before we wind up, let's quickly recall what we have studied under the properties of materials. The first one, we have discuss about the appearance. Appearance matters. I've given an example of gold, silver, bronze. Though metals, they can be different, right? So that you remember. And hardness. Just by touching, you can know whether it's soft or it's hard. Clear? The third one is soluble or insoluble. I've given examples. And then the fourth one is floating or sinking. Okay, the lighter one it float, the heavier one it sinks. Now the last one is regarding the three materials: transparent, opaque, and then translucent, which are very important. So thank you so much. We'll continue with another interesting topic in our next class.